Hello, everyone.
Hey.
Welcome to the WeWeb office hour. So I'm Joyce, and I'm with Quentin, head of growth at WeWeb,
Hi.
and I'm in charge of product marketing at WeWeb. And the whole point of these office hours is to help you build projects with WeWeb and other no-code tools. So today we started building a job board with Xano and WeWeb last week, and we'll keep building that job board today. So if you have any questions, Quentin will be monitoring most of the chat, and because sometimes I have trouble, showing you on my screen and checking the chats at the same time. But yeah, go for it. Hi, Raf. Rafael is our CEO, so we're gonna be good. Did you want to add anything, Quentin? Maybe I don't know. Or not, honestly.
No, I
It's
think it's
all
okay.
right. All right. Cool.
Let's
Perfect.
roll.
Awesome. So I'll start sharing my screen. Can you see it well?
Yep.
All right. Cool. So last week, and let me zoom in a little bit on both platforms. So last week we started building a job board with WeWeb and Xano. So in Xano, we took this in the marketplace. We took the careers template, and what it did is it automatically created 3 tables with a list of jobs that we have here. We added a few since last week because we want to show you more advanced filters. So we added a few jobs here. But those first 6 jobs you have in the template by default. The category table with categories, so human resources, software development, marketing. And last week we added one called all so that it would help us with our select dropdown. And the application table we did not use last week. So in the application table, we have candidates applying to jobs and link, to the job ID to the in the job table. So this table we did not use last week, but we're going to use this week. And just so you know, by default, this table with the Xano template, this field job ID and this field email, they are by default they're not required. So we changed that. We made both required because we want to make sure we know which job the person is applying to, and we want to make sure we have a way of contacting them. And the third change we made to this table is the resume. So by default, that's why it says null here. By default in the template, and the Xano template, it's an attachment. But in our case, and it will become very clear when we do the project, we want to send a URL. We actually want to send a text in the form of a URL. A URL in the form of text, because that's the way file uploads work in WeWeb. And the file upload element is a new element in WeWeb, so we're really excited to show you this today. All right, so what I'll do is I'll go to WeWeb and I'll I'll duplicate a project. So if you need to start from scratch like we did last week, you would select the job board template. But in our case, we're going to duplicate a project from our workspace. We're going to start with this one, the job board with Xano, which is the project we were working on last week. So I'll say job board with Xano part 2. And I will just duplicate it. So when you're working with your design system in WeWeb, you can either duplicate a section or an element or a project, and that really creates an independent copy of the project, or you can link it. So it creates kind of a copy, except both copies are linked. So if you make a change in one, it'll make a change in the other. So we're going to duplicate the project here. So they're both independent. And it should take just a few seconds actually, but let me just check that everything is okay in Xano. Yeah, and in Xano, so the first thing we're going to want to do is actually, the one thing we're going to want to do with the API endpoints in Xano this week that we didn't do last week is send a job application. So we're going to be using this API endpoint. All right, so WeWeb created the project. We'll open it and get started. Are there any? So far, I guess everything is clear, right?
No, yeah, no question at the moment.
Okay, cool. So let me zoom in here. All right. Can you see? Yeah, it's pretty good here, I think.
I think it's okay, yeah.
All right, cool. So just a reminder, what we had last week is we had a collection with all the jobs, and this was we get all the jobs from Xano. We have all the job categories. We added a drop down select. So actually, let me zoom out a tiny bit, and we can select. We can filter on marketing jobs or quality assurance or development. Um, all of this. So that's what we did last week. Now, what we want to do this week is we actually want users to be able to click on, click on the job, view the job description, and then apply to it. So in order to do that, the first thing we'll need to do is here in our columns element, we're going to change it and switch it to 2. So the reason we want to do that is because we want to drag and drop a button. So you can search it like that. We'll just drag and drop it into our second column. And the cool thing with columns is you can just, you can resize them super easily, and they look fine on mobile. So that's something that's a pretty cool element to work with. Okay, so we'll rename this view job description. And you'll notice it updates all the buttons here. And this is because we're working with a collection list, which you can identify with this little purple icon. If you know WeWeb already, you already know this. If you come from Bubble, this is a repeated group. So there's actually only, one column and one button, but whichever button you select, it will be the same button in the navigator. And by the way, to open and close the navigator, you can use, it's right here. Okay, so we have our view job description button, and we want to create a workflow. So what we want to do is when the user clicks on this button, we want to bring them to the job template page, which is in the job board template in WeWeb. So you'll have that by default if you use the job board template. Except the job template page, by default, it's empty. You have a job title placeholder and then a rich text element and a form. So what we want to do is we want to make sure that instead of job title, it gives the title from the job that was just selected by selected by the user. So in order to do that, we're going to create a workflow. The workflow will trigger on click when the user clicks on the button. We'll call it go to job page. And the first action will be to change a variable value. And we'll need to create a variable called select a job or anything really. You decide what you call it, but I like to be descriptive. And the type will be an object. By default, it will be empty, and the reason it needs to be an object will be very clear in a few seconds. What we'll do is we'll save that variable in the local storage, meaning that it will be saved in the user's browser because it's dependent on what the user just did. Really, we just want that user to have this variable. So we'll save this, and back in our workflow, we'll call this get job information, basically, or yeah, that's fine. Get job information. And so this selected job, the new value we want to pass is this item data here. So you may have noticed this in WeWeb, is basically this item by default. WeWeb shows you what item you're on. So when you're in a collection list in a repeated item, it will automatically WeWeb knows on which item you're on. So if we go here to view our variables, this, let me make it clear here. So on this specific, if I click on this specific one, this is the first one, and you see here the value is 11, front-end developer. It's the ID 11, front-end developer. So let me show you in Xano. Actually, will be clearer. So this is item 11. front-end developer. So what WeWeb is doing here is taking all the information, the description, everything from this item. But if I go here, and actually I can click here. If I click here in preview mode, you see here it fills it changes the selected job. If I click on the button, it updates it, and so on. I can click on any button and it will update my new selected job variable. And so back in our workflow, once I have this information, I'll want to change page. I want to change page, and this is the action here. And the page I want to go to is the job template. So go to job page. Job page. Oops. All right. So I'll go back into preview mode. And now when I click on this one, full stack developer, I'll click here. I'll go to the job template page, but obviously it's still the template. It's just the template. We didn't change anything. It's a placeholder. So what we need to do, and this is why it was important to kind of momentarily save the job selected information in a variable, is because here we need to know this information. We need to have this information so that we can bind the text here to the information that's in our variable. So the variables are here. It's a website variable because we created it. So we go into select a job and get the title. So full stack developer. We can bind here. It's also a placeholder. We can we have the information in our selected job here, full time. And the rich text we could bind also to the job description we have in Xano. So let's do it here. And there you go. So now if we go back to into preview and go to the jobs, on the jobs page, if we choose a different one, if we choose the quality assurance officer, this will update automatically because it depends on the information from this variable. And as we did in the workflow, it automatically changes the selected job based on the current on the last button that was clicked, basically. Does that make sense to everyone? Hey, Xavier. It's
Yeah, I
cool
think
to
it's
have you
okay.
here.
Yeah, Xavier's
Yeah?
here.
Awesome.
But yeah, no questions at the moment, so I think you're crystal clear.
Okay, perfect. I hope I'm not putting everyone to sleep. It's just like clarity at its purest form. All right, so we wanted to do this. Now the next thing we wanted to do is enable users to send us their application. We want them to be able to send their resume, to send their to send everything, all the information. So by default in the job board template, you have this this form container, and when you drag and drop a form container, so here in this one is the one you have with the template. Let's go through this one first. So you see here, if I click on this one, on this input field, it's called candidate name. And so I have a variable that's created. You can see it here in the components. I'll have the candidate name value, which is linked. It's this value. If I change the value here, it will change the value there. Same with email. Same with which you can also. So the variables you can find in
Actually,
here, you can create.
you can
Yeah,
show
go for
that
it.
in the navigator by typing in the preview if you want to show
Exactly.
this.
Yeah, for sure, I'll do that. And yeah, actually, that's probably better than just explaining it. So if you watch here, you'll see it'll update automatically. So I'm Joyce. I'm Joyce here. I'll add my email here. I'm based in Paris and I love jazz in Colombo. So yeah, you have all my information here. And the thing is that when you drop an element, which we're going to do with a brand new file upload element now, so we'll drag and drop it here. Boom, you see here just two variables were created. You can see them here in the navigator, but you can also see them in variables. They are now file1 progress and file1 value. So we'll just go ahead and rename them actually. So let me go to the navigator to file one. I want to call it candidate resume. And the second value that's called price is actually pretty cool. I'll show you in a second. But so basically what we want to do is I'll go into preview mode and I'll upload a file now. My resume is a GIF, and don't judge me. And I'll just change
Was it
my
the
margins.
actual one you used for WeWeb?
No, you'll see. It's a little surprise. It's a little surprise for our CTO. So that's a teaser. My resume is pretty good. Pretty good. So here in the I'll go and create a workflow. And so it's important to know that in WeWeb, your form workflows, you want to have them on the form container, which you can identify with a little green button here. And in the navigator, you see it here. It's really the form container. The reason for that is you want all this information here to be part of your workflow, to be recognizable in your workflow. So you may have the temptation to put the workflow on the submit button, but it won't work. So you need to have it on the form container. Now, the workflow is actually, send job application to Xano. That's what we want to do ultimately. And it's on submit. So it's whenever the user submits the form, we want to send the job application to Xano. And so, since we want the user the candidate to be able to upload their resume, the first thing, the way the file upload works in WeWeb is that when the user uploads the file, WeWeb store it on our CDN. And it's important because in the future we'll develop something where you're able to store the resume or any attachment in your own database. But for now, that's how it works. So we upload it to our CDN. So what we're able to share is the URL to where the file is stored. And that's why in Xano, instead of using an attachment field in here in the job application, that's why we changed it to text, because we want to have a URL. And let me show you right now. So there's a new action now in the forms. It's the upload file. So we'll choose that and we'll call the action upload resume. And the select upload element will be this value, so the variable that was created. And now let's test this action. That's also a new feature that our amazing devs pushed last week. So we now have a debugger in WeWeb. And actually, let me show you. Ooh, I hope I can show you in time. Yeah. Oof, you just saw the end. I'll do it again. But the progress is basically its numbers going up to 100. So it's showing you. It amused me very much when I saw that. So I thought I'll share that. But anyway, so the result here you see is a URL. And this is the surprise from my CTO. So I'll copy paste this URL to show you that last week I was really happy during the live office hours, and our CTO teased me because I don't know how he did it, but he managed to catch me doing this. So that's my resume from now on. So this shows you that basically that's where we store the file. It's with a GIF, but obviously it would work with a PDF resume. It would work with a JPEG, any attachment really. So now that we have this URL, we'll add another action, and the action will be to an API request. So it will be this action here that I was talking about earlier. We want to post an application. So we'll copy this link, this endpoint link, and paste it here. So I'll say push data to Xano. And now if we look at this API endpoint, we see that Xano tells us, okay, in terms of inputs, we're going to automatically take care of the timestamp. So in here, this will be, Xano will handle that. We don't have to worry about that. However, Xano expects us to send them data for a job ID, a name, a phone, email, resume, and status. So we'll go ahead and add fields. We have job underscore ID. We have name. We have resume, email. It was phone and status. Phone and status. I think that's right. So the job ID will be, so you remember we actually have it here in the selected job. So we'll go ahead and get the value, which is in our variable selected job. It's this ID here. Quality assurance. Yes, that's right. I was stuck on 11, so I thought I got mixed up, but no. So this matches this, and it's the ID of the selected job, which is quality assurance officer, which we can see. Where can we see it? Here. And the name is my name, so it's the name that the user put in the component variable. So candidate name, the resume, and that's where another update, another new feature in WeWeb gets really cool is let's bind it to a previous action. So before we start at the beginning, when we start the workflow, when the user first hit the submit button, we didn't have a value for this. The resume did not exist. But now after action 1, it exists. It exists at this URL. So here you see we now have an icon for workflow, and that allows you to get the result from a previous action in your workflow. That's incredibly powerful. I am so happy about this feature. So hopefully you enjoy it too. All right, so we link the URL. That's the information that we want to send in the resume field of Xano. The email is again the value from our component. It's the candidate email value. We didn't put a phone, so we'll just leave it empty. And the status, we'll just leave it as pending review, I think is what we have here. Yeah, pending review. So let's do that. Let's type this in. Am I still making sense? Or
I think so.
Xavier is saying workflow and forms are really powerful.
Yeah.
Oh. Another cool little thing is now WeWeb automatically recognizes the field type for when you make an API call, which is super useful. I'm like, I know like experienced devs probably don't have that anymore, but if you remember when you were first starting out, it happened probably fairly often that you forgot to, say application JSON to give the content type to your API call. So this is just a little, you can change it, but it's a little plus that WeWeb does automatically for you now. So it saves you a little bit of typing. All right, so let's test this actually. Let's go ahead and submit it. And okay, I'll submit. The form is submitted. Thank you. And let's go back to Xano and see if it worked. Now it may. I wonder why this is empty. I guess maybe I created a field.
Maybe refresh it.
Yeah. I'm just wondering why I have an empty record. All right.
Yeah, that's it.
There we are. So it's this one here, quality assurance officer. So it's good. I applied to the right job. So it sounds really boring. I would never apply to. No, I won't judge me.
I hope we don't have quality assurance
No.
people in the chat.
Yeah, I actually used to do financial auditing, so I do enjoy that type of work as well. Okay, and so here's the resume. So it's not an attachment; it's a URL because that's how we work at the moment. That's how the pilot code element works at WeWeb at the moment. But in the future, it could be an attachment that you send to your database directly. And that's it, really. I think that pretty much covers the kind of what we wanted to show you in terms of user interaction and the new feature. If you have any questions, go for it. Otherwise, what I would like to show you is the search. So last week we didn't have time, I think, to go through the search, and I wanted to show you how to filter the collection with a little bit of a more complex filter system where you have the drop down and the search at the same time. So
Yeah,
don't know
no
if they're
questions at the moment.
all
So
right.
yeah,
All right,
let's
let's
roll
go
with
for
the
it then.
search.
Nice. So first thing, if
Oh,
you
we've got one
remember,
actually. Xavier is
okay.
asking, is it possible for WeWeb to auto-detect all the fields in an API call? Like, I
So I think
don't
in
think depends. Like right now, no, and that would mean that your API has a endpoint to like make to auto discover all the fields with the model of the data that you have to send to the call, because basically if you send a post to an endpoint, the endpoint like won't say to you, I need this data, and only some APIs have a specific endpoint describing all the like the model. So at the moment we don't have, and we'll need to check APIs that do this, or maybe that have a Swagger API documentation to do this automatically. But right now, it's not possible.
And actually, it just reminds me, I think I showed it last week, but I really like the fact that Xano has a Swagger documentation.
Yeah,
So you,
it's
you can
pretty
actually
cool.
share, yeah, you can share it with third parties. So that's pretty cool. Um, all right, so back to our jobs. We have a select drop down here. Our options are from a category, from a collection with our job categories, which is um, this collection here, and which gets this collection, this table here. And so what it does then is we have our collection with all the jobs. And as a reminder, what we say is we say where the category contains the value from the dropdown, then we want to apply the filter basically. And it only applies if if the dropdown value is all, then we don't want to filter through data. We want to show all the items. So now what we want to do is we actually want to add a condition group. So we have this search bar here, and with the search bar um, we have the search bar value variable. So what we'll do is on the collection here, we'll add a condition group to our filter where, for example, the title contains our search value or search bar value, or if the description, uh, so the description of our job contains um, the search bar value. You could decide to filter on anything really. It's just the title and description seems to make sense, but maybe you would have you would want to filter on the company. You would want to be able to filter by company. That could very well be the case. Actually, we can add it. So or filter by company if it contains our search bar value. And now let's go here and we'll say manager. So that's pretty cool. We have 3 manager positions, and now we just want to filter on marketing. So we'll have the marketing and manager both filtering. So, and I know I have a company C, so that's my very creative. No, sorry, I'm in the wrong place. So I added company names here, and I was very creative about it. So we have company A, B, C, and D. So now you can filter on the company name as well if you wanted to. So that's just a little bit of added complexity that we wanted to show you. That you can stack different condition groups on there, and you can delete an entire condition group, or you can duplicate them so you don't have to start from scratch. Very often, you'll have checkboxes and select drop downs and search bars. So that's where this comes in really, really handy. All right. I think that's pretty much everything I wanted to show today. Are there is there thank you, Slavo.
Slavo loved it.
Cool. I'm glad. So, Slavo, now is your time to shine. If you have any trick question, go for it. Actually, something we could test live is when there's a form error. We can try to do that live if you want to. I'll just preface this that it might fail, but we can give it a try if you'd like. Otherwise, yeah, if there are any if there are any questions, we can take them really. Was there anything else, Quentin, you think that might be helpful with the new features?
Mm. Oh, yeah, I mean, we could have done the search on the Xano side and then using the REST API binding to change the
Yeah.
search.
The
But
thing
I
is, we
mean,
have a free plan, so I'm a little bit
yeah.
we might be.
Pipetran is
Oh,
asking, how can I make the sidebar to stick to the left? So I think you've got an option on the sidebar container.
yeah. So actually, let
So
me.
you need to go to the navigator because like
Yeah,
the main part of the sidebar is hidden
yeah,
under the
yeah.
navigation.
So it's this one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So here it's the positioning is on the left. You can put it on the right, or you can put it. Yeah, it's top or. It was that. Oh, or maybe you wanted to. Was that your question, Pipetran? Does that answer your question, or not really? Or was it this one that you wanted to? That's sticky. One thing I noticed is actually so in I noticed it on the other page. So for example, here we're on mobile. So I think what would be cool is this sidebar on mobile to change the settings. So instead of putting it on the left, I don't think I would want to display it actually on mobile. So I'll just go ahead and display none. And this one, the hero section here, um, it's boxed.
You will have to remove the
Yeah.
margin because it's
Oh, it's
some
the margin. Oh,
margin.
yeah,
Yeah,
or the
it's a
padding.
little. No, I think it's margin because it's blue.
Oh, yeah, I can see it.
Yeah.
Okay, so there we go. And so we can make so if we go back to our desktop view, the sidebar is still here and the margins are there. But if we go to mobile, then we see, oh, then I need to do it here. And the cool thing, like it's similar to Webflow in the sense that here, if I make this change, you'll see right away a little green dot here at the margin settings warns me that there's a setting that's different to the rest, that there's a unique setting. And I can just click and why am I not managing to you can yeah you can delete the setting by clicking here, or you can leave it like that and it won't apply to desktop. But the cool thing is when you're designing on desktop, you see that it's there. So
So Pipecram is asking, yeah, that did. But why the specific options? I don't see it in the navigation section. I'm not sure to get
the,
it.
no, I don't understand.
Well,
Do you mean this section here?
because you can do this on the sidebar. It's a different element than the navigation.
Yeah.
I mean, navigation is an all navigation that we use that's only on top. And
Mhm.
sidebar is kind of yeah, like left-right navigation, but it's two different elements in WeWeb.
Yep. Hi, JP. And there's another element actually that's in the templates, and actually would love your feedback on this because we're thinking of reorganizing this sidebar a bit so that it's easier for you to find what you need. Because sometimes people will look in elements or look in templates, they're not sure where. So if you have any feedback on that, would be more than happy to take in your feedback. And so in the templates, you have a right sidebar form that's there that can be it's not a modal element, but almost you can have it slide in or out. And the newest addition to our dev team, Alexis, actually is actually working on a new pop-up modal element. So a bit different from the pure sidebar element you
Oh,
were asking about. But
got it. Like the question for pipeline. Thanks to Slavo and Aurélie.
okay,
Yeah, it's in the specific part of the side, like of the component, because yeah, it's specific to the sidebar. You don't have this option in navigation, for example. Because the question was like, why is it not in settings, like in all the components, and in the specific
okay,
part of the element? It's because it's really specific to this element only, and not to
okay.
others.
Yeah.
Xavier is like, Slavo, you work at WeWeb? Ah, kinda. Yeah. Yeah, Slavo helps us on the like for the US market. And yeah,
And
he's a
actually,
power user, definitely.
yeah, definitely. And just a quick thing, like for the width here, if you put it in full here, it looks like it's limited to 100 pixels, but actually you can still go. Um, that's very ugly. You shouldn't do that. But if you wanted to, you can actually go beyond the what appears to be the maximum here.
Okay, so yeah, Pipeline understood it. Perfect.
Cool.
I
Awesome.
understand now. Since the symbol of the components in the same, I was confused. What do you mean the symbols? Ah, because it's all sections or elements. I mean, they are all elements, but they have specific behavior. And like the blue link that you see, it's not that the same. It's the same component. That means that it's linked across pages.
Yeah.
Because you can reuse some elements if you do like duplicate sections. You can reuse elements and section across pages, and if you modify them on one page, it will modify on other pages. Like specifically, you would use that for the navigation or the footer
Yeah.
of an app.
Yeah, so for example, if I deleted the navigation here on this page, I could go ahead and duplicate section and look at my another page. So here I'm in the job template. So on my home page, for example, or on this one, actually a global component, and I could drag and drop it here. And when I drag and drop it, will ask me, do I want to create an instance of the section or do I want to create a copy? And it goes back to what I explained when I was duplicating the project from last week. If you create a copy, it will really create a separate copy, an independent copy from the original. So if you make changes in a new copy, it will not make changes to the original. But if I create an instance, which is typically what you would do, as Quentin said, with a navigation, with a footer, then if I make changes in this one, for example, I'll say hello or hello. Also, it works. If I go to a different page on the jobs page, it will have updated with with hello with my beautiful typo. And if I fix the typo on this page and I go back to my job template page, then the typo is fixed on that element as well because it's an instance of the section. It's another instance of the section.
Yes, Slavo explained it. Like
Yeah.
when you make a change in an instance, the change will propagate through all version of that instance. Yeah, because it's under the hood, it's exactly the same component reused.
Yeah.
And Pipetron was saying, but actually that's nice feedback. Like
Yeah, that's
the
great.
icons were the same, like the sandwich symbol. What's the sandwich symbol? Area is the same for the sidebar and navigation bar. Sandwich symbol.
Makes me hungry. Uh, templates, navigation.
Remove
Oops.
the search, yeah.
Um,
Ah, yeah, it's
oh,
yeah,
okay. All right.
it's the section
Sorry.
icon. Yeah,
Okay, Aurelien's way
because
better. Aurelien Slavo are the best.
these are all sections, and
Yeah.
the only difference is that some of them we supercharge them with parameters. So they have a special behavior for that, and we give them a name like sidebar and navigations. But under the hood, they are all sections or elements, because everything is either an element or a section in WeWeb. A section is a
Yeah.
big part of a page, and an element is a small element like a text or button, for example.
For example, here, if we start from a blank page, you would not be able to drag and drop a table. It will not work, and actually, it will make my navigator. It might make my navigator crash. So let's see. But so you first need to add a section, and you can identify sections by this little sandwich icon, as you said, and then you can add a table in there, and
And
then yeah.
he's asking also, how can we make the sidebar, like hide the sidebar or make it collapsible? So to hide it, as Joyce showed, you could use the display none property. And you can actually bind it to a variable. And to make it collapsible, for example, what we could do is add a small, for example, X icon to close it, bind it to a variable. So every time we click, this variable becomes true. And when this variable is true, for example, like the sidebar is not displayed anymore.
Yeah. So actually, if you want to kind of reverse engineer this, Pipetran, you can use this right sidebar section that's in the templates. So the right sidebar form,
You've got the
and
classic add new section bug that
yeah,
we are going to fix next week.
yeah.
So the way to
Um,
prevent this is like, yeah, okay, that works too. But you can like take the first section and make it bigger so that it
yeah.
pushes
Oh,
the.
cool. But just to show you, so this is what it looks like. You have a little bit of explanation as to how to work with it. So typically, you would create a variable that's called open, open the open something. This would be the add new goal form, because that's the example we chose, but it's really anything you wanted. And then on a workflow, actually, let's maybe we can do it here. So here we have a workflow, or let's do it here. We'll do it. We'll do it with this. So what we'll do is um, in the templates, we'll go ahead and drag and drop this. Oops, I'm in preview mode. We'll drag and drop this right sidebar form. What we'll do is we'll create a variable called, oops, not a collection. We'll create a variable called open sidebar. It's a Boolean, so by default it will be closed, so it will be false. And then what we will do is for example, we'll on this button. So when the user clicks on this button, we'll change the variable. So when on click, we'll change the variable value open sidebar to true. And so what that means then, if we go here to the right sidebar, is what we'll do is so it's exactly what Quentin explained. So by default, it'll be off, and we'll bind this display to our variables here, our variable uh, open sidebar. So right now it's false. Why is it? Am I missing something here? Uh,
If you go in the navigator, maybe it's true for I don't know which reason, but let's check the variable.
Open sidebar false, and display false. Oh,
Because
sorry,
it's
it's because
it,
yeah.
it seems you have another variable too, like is sidebar open. I'm wondering if because that's a new element, I don't know it well, but if when you drag and drop it, it creates a variable already because you've got a variable is sidebar open.
Oh yeah, yeah, you're right. So that means that my workflow, I will go in here, is sidebar open. So I'll change it to true. And here, let's see. And oh yeah, I forgot. I didn't bind to the right. Sorry. right sidebar here. So the display, I will not bind it to the open sidebar variable. I will bind it to this. And just so by default here, because we want it when people drag and drop it, we want them to be able to see it. So by default it's true, but we'll just change it to false. And so now it should work, or does it not? Why is it? I'm missing something, and I'm missing something because I'm not reading the explanations. Open, add new goal form. Oh, transform property. Okay, it's the transform property. It's not the display. Right. Add a workflow. All right, so it's the transform property. Where is my transform property? Here we go. And I'll just copy paste this here. It's not going to work this way, so let me just... All right, I did everything backwards, so let me just follow this, the actual instructions here. So I'll create a Boolean variable called open add a new goal form. Open add new goal form. It will be a Boolean, and I'll save this. So by default, it's false. I will bind the transform property of the sidebar to what I just created. So on the right sidebar, I will go to my transform, and it doesn't work when I copy paste, but that's something that Aurélie is working on. So if this variable here that I just created, if it's true, I'll go ahead and translate 0, 0, boom. Otherwise, I'll translate 100. I think it's probably percent, right? The mod, yeah. That's a little visual bug that will be fixed soon. So when you type in percent, it actually changes to mod in the formula here. All right, so that's it. So now it should work. Let's see. Except I'm not sure I got my workflow right. So oh no, that's something completely different. Where this is an Airtable form. Okay, let me refresh the page and follow the instructions at the end of the instructions. And let's go and get the right sidebar. I'm gonna bind this actually, and I'm gonna just I'm gonna miss what I did. Okay, it's fine. And the next step after we've done that is add a workflow to the top left that changes the value of the variable to false. Then you can display the sidebar with any workflow set the okay. So that's actually what we did. Sorry about that. That's pretty boring. I can work on this, and if you have any questions for Quentin, he can. I'm sure he can. Or you can watch me do this. That works as well. But if you translate, go and translate. That should be okay. I do unexpected token if this, then oh, okay. All right. So now it's disappeared, and now on my workflow, I think this workflow is attached to something else, so I think I'll do it on here. going to create a workflow, on-click. I'm going to change the variable value, and I'm wondering if it's this one that needs to change, or yeah. All right. So that was complicated. Then you would have to add a workflow here as well to change the variable value. We can try to do it now. So on click here, we'll go ahead and close pop-up and actually, so change the variable value. So we need to choose a variable, which is, I guess, this one, and go false. Let's give it a try. All right. So you would absolutely not place your click on the start date of a new job, but that's the idea. So my recommendation is when you read the explanations on how to set it up, don't start in the middle because it will not save you time. All right, cool. Was there any other questions that maybe you want to, does that help? Okay, cool. That's what you wanted to do. Cool. And yeah, Aurélie was saying in the chat, this is so the right sidebar element is something that our CPO worked on and published a couple of weeks ago, but we're already working on a new improved version. So yeah. All right, awesome.
Nice.
Well, if there are no other questions, we'll leave it at that for today. As always, so we're always publishing new tutorials in the Academy. You can find the Academy here, and we have a bunch of new tutorials coming soon. Will be how to set up the Xano plugin and use JSON Web Tokens to authenticate. There are a lot of new tutorials, and sometimes when we don't when it's making videos can be a bit tricky because, as you've seen, the product evolves very, very fast. So sometimes we record a tutorial and 1 week later we need to record it again. So when we know that might happen, what we do now is we started writing text-based tutorials in the community and posting them there. I'm not sure why the community is not showing up. So it's a discourse community. You can log in and you have here, for example, how to link a custom domain to a WeWeb app. We had another tutorial on, actually we saw this during the office hours last week, but how to filter data with a select dropdown. So this is, it's text-based. So for us, it's easier to update when there's a change in the product, and for you, sometimes it might be easier to, work with the screenshots instead of the video. It really depends on how you like to learn, and it also depends on the topic. Some topics are easier to explain in video, and others are easier to explain by text. So yeah, hopefully that helps. And did you have anything else to add, Quentin?
No, I think there was not
Okay.
lots of questions, and everything seems to
Okay,
be
cool.
okay. Well done.
All
Well
right.
done doing the translate, because yeah, I wouldn't
Yeah, it's
understand how it works. So
I'm just copying what's in the instructions. I have no idea what technically it means. But yeah. So that's the idea. And next week, we're not sure yet what we'll show you as a use case. If there are any use cases you would like, maybe it's even maybe PyChan, you would like us to work on your project in the next office hour. If that's the case, don't hesitate to email me at joyce@weweb.io. And we'll do our best to prepare, an office hour that's helpful for you.
yeah, we've got another
Oh,
question
right.
for that later. And so Pipe wants to build a language training web app. So I
Yeah.
imagine like Duolingo or something like that. And if we can demonstrate how the user can drag and drop words to complete a phrase. So yeah, I'm not sure you can do drag and drop right now in WeWeb. That would mean you have to check with the devs and Aurélie, because that would mean using a library to like
Yeah.
watch the events on when the user is dragging and dropping stuff. But that's something that's on our roadmap because some users ask the Kanban like component, and Kanban, they are actually the same because you can drag and drop cards between like Trello or HubSpot, for example. So drag and drop cards between columns. So when we've got this one, maybe you can do drag and drops also for this use case.
Yeah, that's exactly what Aurelia is saying in the
Yeah.
chat. Um, and I think I don't know, Pipetran, is it you who we talked in the community? Because one thing you can do, and actually it's added to the in the community, is here there. I mean, I recorded a loom. I can record a tutorial. Actually, it's oh, actually, it might be. I think I changed it into an academy. Whoops, that's my voice. Let's see if it's here. Because here, one of the cool things you can do in WeWeb is you can add languages. So you could actually add French, and then when you we'll leave it in default here. The page, then you can add a language to the page as well. And the cool thing is then afterwards you can actually bind. So in your database, you could have your content in English and in Spanish and in French and wherever, whatever. And based on the language in the navigator, here we go. So let's select French as well and save. And so now if we went to French, we could display different information. And the way we would do that is that here now we can bind to content that's in French. So in our database, it could just be, a column, an extra column where in Xano we would add the description in English, and we could just add a description in French, and then we would be able to bind it here, which is pretty cool. Not a, for your use case, I'm assuming you'll need to handle multiple languages, so that's something that could be useful. I like already exactly what Quentin is saying. Why am I typing? Because it helps. Thank you for being here. All right. Well, that was really cool. Thanks a lot for joining us and asking your questions. And again, if there's anything you need, don't hesitate to ask us in the community. You can email me directly as well at joyce@weweb.io for if you have specific like tutorial requests, or if you want us to prepare something for the next office hours. We're really hoping that week after week we can make these more and more interactive. Maybe switch on Zoom so that we can actually see each other's faces and give you the floor so you can share your screen and stuff like that. So thanks again for joining, and we'll see you next week.
Bye. Have a great week.
Yeah. Bye.